This season, the Giants have had more question marks going into a year than any other season in recent memory. Maybe even more than the time the Giants went 11-5 in 2016 and was knocked out of the playoff race. We didn't know what we were going to get in 2017, but we kind of all collectively thought that they would do better next year. This year is completely different. This time around, the roster has been completely changed and turned upside down, adding talent on both the offensive and defensive side from both free agency and the draft. Today, we're going to be talking about what you should expect from the New York Giants going into this season. Now, I may burst your bubble or I may boost you up with optimism. It depends on your preconceived thoughts about the team right now and going into the season. Rightfully so, nobody really knows for sure what this team is going to be. A lot of people have their own thoughts. I, for one, think the team will improve, but still not quite get there and go about 7-9 with their ceiling being like 8-8. And I don't think they're going to have a winning season, but I think they're going to show a lot of improvement next year. But the mainstream media is treating the Giants as if, I mean, they're hot trash and they're going to go 2-14 next year or 3-13 next year and regress from last year. I don't think that whatsoever. Our roster has gotten better since and more balanced since last year. Yes, you had Olivier Vernon, you had Odell Beckham, Landon Collins, guys like that, but we really didn't have depth on the roster. This year, we're spreading the talent out between all the positions, and we're gaining depth as well. So that's a huge improvement from last year. Don't expect this team to make the playoffs next year, although I will be happy if we do make it. That's a very, very common mistake people think about me, that I just don't want them to make the playoffs. I do, but I'm just going to be a realist, and I'm not going to expect them to make the playoffs. If they do, then that's great, but I'm not going to expect them to do so. This team's shown flashes last season, and other teams got away with wins like the Panthers. I mean, the Panthers freaking killed us with that 63-yard field goal. We didn't run with Saquon in the second half of the Philadelphia Eagles game, and our offense was shut down from there when we were leading by 19-3. Plenty of examples like that happened just last season. We probably could have still been in the playoff race in the wild card. But here's my point: this team lost a lot of games that they should have won, and I don't think they're gonna quite change that next season. They may improve, maybe they'll actually stick and hold out in some games, and their defense holds out and things like that, and the offense doesn't completely shut down in the second half. But I still think it will happen occasionally. I don't think this team completely figured out their problems. Yes, they're going into their second year of both systems, both the James Bettcher system and the Pat Shurmur system, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be perfect yet. This is their second season. They will improve, but this would not compare to an offense that has been implemented for 5 years. This is only the second year, so we still have to wait and see what we're going to get from them. But let's break down what you should expect from the New York Giants next season. Now, Eli Manning is going on his 15th season in the NFL. And yes, he is not the same thrower he once was. He doesn't throw any tight spirals. He doesn't have the arm strength he used to have. And he still has that paranoia that I think Eric Flowers caused himself. But he still has that. But Eli Manning left last season on a high note, with trusting his offensive line, building chemistry with the offensive line. Now, I understand it's not the same offensive line from last year. It's actually almost completely different on the right side, adding Mike Remmers and Kevin Zeitler in there, but it should be a lot better. I think Eli is going to build on his trust that he has with the left side, which is the most important side, with Nate Solder and Will Hernandez. And Eli is going to play like he played last season, shifting and moving on the offensive line, being more confident and, sticking with the play instead of just giving up and going down. Now, that brings me to the offensive line. I firmly believe this offensive line is going to be the best offensive line the Giants have had since 2007. In this year, I'm not talking about giving these players time to develop. I think eventually, maybe they may struggle in the beginning of the season, building their chemistry and getting the right things going. But when you have veterans like Mike Remmers, I get Mike Remmers isn't the greatest, but he is a veteran, and at one point he was one of the better tackles in the league. Upper than above average tackles in the league. Then you add Kevin Zeitler, who's arguably one of the best guards in the league, and then you add Will Hernandez, who's up and coming. Nate Solder, who's a veteran, and yes, you have John Jalapeno or Spencer Pulley there, but center isn't really a big issue than right guard and tackle is. With all the veterans on that offensive line, they have to develop quickly. I mean, it should be in their nature. So I think immediately they're going to build their chemistry and gain trust with each other, and I think this will be the best offensive line since Super Bowl 42. Also, with Daniel Jones, we will see Daniel Jones next season. I can guarantee it. And I'm not saying you're going to see him if we're blowing out a team or we're getting blown out, you're going to see Daniel Jones. No, I think Daniel Jones will start for the Giants this season. Now, you could say, well, we got to believe Dave Gettleman. He wants to bring back Eli next season. Listen, you've heard many times Dave Gettleman saying that he wants to pick the best player available, and you really thought he was not going to go quarterback, and yet he gets Daniel Jones. Listen, this guy will lie to your face. It's his job, okay? I don't think they're going to draft Daniel Jones 6th overall to bench him for 2 years or 3 years like he's been saying for Eli Manning. I think he wants to get a taste of what Daniel can do now. And we're gonna wait to the to the end of the season when we're out of playoff contention, and all that stuff, and we will see Daniel Jones. Now, I'm going to throw out that whole thing that Daniel Jones will start week 1. He's not gonna start week 1. They believe Eli should be the starter. They've shown that for him not taking a pay cut. They've shown that from going all in on Eli and pretty much picking the guy that Eli would want in Daniel Jones, who I think is his son. But anyway, we're gonna stay away from the whole reality TV soap opera stuff. But we will see Daniel Jones start at least one game next season. Saquon Barkley would pick up right where he left off last season, maybe having more yards from scrimmage than last season. He had over 2,000 yards from last season, arguably one of the best rookie running back performances of all time Saquon Barkley had. You're talking about 1,200 yards, 700 receiving yards. I mean, this guy was a complete animal last season. And I think with a better offensive line, he has nowhere to go but up. He is not going to decline from last season. This will not be a sophomore slump, barring injury, God forbid. But Saquon Barkley will pick up right where he left off and have another MVP type season. We are facing tons of one of the best front sevens in the league next year. Yes, our schedule is easier. That doesn't mean the defenses will be easier. We're facing some top-notch front sevens. As you guys know, in our division, we have the Redskins with their fantastic front seven they put together, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Dallas Cowboys. All three of those teams in our division have great front sevens. And then we got to talk about the Bears. Then we got to talk about the Lions, the Vikings, and the Bills. Those are the majority of our schedule are facing top-notch front sevens. Now, the receivers. Now, many are saying that with Odell Beckham being gone, this receiving core is just going to go down and we're just going to completely suck. The receiving core is going to suck. Not every team. There are 31 other teams out there that don't have Odell Beckham. You will live without Odell Beckham, okay? We have Golden Tate, we have Sterling Shepard. If you ask me, yes, it's not a better core than Odell Beckham being there. But if you think about it, when we had Odell Beckham there, the Giants didn't care about building depth. They got Golden Tate, and listen, Golden Tate he's not meant to fill in Odell Beckham's shoes. As a collective, they are supposed to do that, and to me, that is a bigger threat than just having Odell Beckham. Why is that? Because we get to have more weapons spread out. The Giants didn't really care about receiver depth with him there. Now, the biggest conversation going into training camp is who's going to be the number 3 wide receiver. When did you ever hear about that with Odell Beckham? We didn't care about who was going to be the number 3 wide receiver. Corey Coleman is really making a case. Benny Fowler and Corey Coleman have been going at it this mini camp in OTA. And then you look at our 5th round draft pick, Darius Slayton, who's been really coming on. He started off with like the 3rd team, built his way up to the 1st team. As far as I know, he's really been working on his hands, which I had a knock on him on. But our receiver depth is fantastic. We have a bunch of number 2s, bunch of number 3s in there throughout the whole entire depth chart. Talking about all the way to the last receiver with Reggie White Jr. Out of Monmouth. He seems to be a very good target, and he was one of the favorites in OTAs. Now, Golden Tate and Sterling Shepard, yes, they may be smaller slot wide receivers, but these two are going to be absolutely vital to the offense and destroy defenses from within. You think about two of one of the best route runners in the NFL. You really have to put them in those conversations. Sterling Shepard can run the crispest routes. That's been ever since Oklahoma, and we already know what we get from Golden Tate. On top of these guys, they are absolute mini tanks. Okay, they do not go down easily. Golden Tate and Sterling Shepard are up there as far. Actually, Golden Tate leads the league in yards after contact from a wide receiver, so that tells you enough there. So they're not going to go down easy. They're not just possession wide receivers. They can run after the catch. They can run after contact. These guys are going to be completely destructive to defenses. Last but not least on the offense, Evan Engram. Now, Giants fans know this. There's a pattern with Odell Beckham and Evan Engram. When Odell Beckham is not on the field, Evan Engram completely goes off. Odell's not even on the team anymore, so Evan Engram should get a lot of looks next season. Our cornerback depth is unrecognizable, but in a good way though. Like that girl you thought was hideous in high school, but then a few years later when you see her at the mall and your friend says, "Dude, that's Nancy Johnson," and you're like, That's Nancy Johnson, like from high school, the one with all the acne on the face, the braces, the nerdy glasses. That's Nancy Johnson. The look on your face shows the same amount of confusion and wonder as to what miracle happened between those years. That is the New York Giants cornerback core. You're talking about a team that consisted of Janoris Jenkins, who's still there and he's still good, but Eli Apple, B.W. Webb, Antonio Hamilton, Grant Haley. These are our cornerbacks last year. On top of that, Eli Apple got traded last year. The worst position on the team last year has become one of the best positions on the team this year. Expect DeAndre Baker to win the starting role over Sam Beal because he's just been locked down in OTAs and minicamp so far. Sam Beal's been doing all right, but you're really hearing from DeAndre Baker, and he's getting more and more first-team reps as training camp goes along. Expect DeAndre Baker to play fantastic next year. I'm talking about locking down wide receivers. Now, do I think he's going to struggle? Absolutely. I already said what his biggest knocks are. He really doesn't have downfield speed. It's very hard for him to keep up with these speedy route running wide receivers, but he has a very good sense of where he is in zone and plays very well press man. He has the balanced ability to play overall what a cornerback should play. Not only should you expect that, but expect, and this is a bold prediction here, expect him to play better than Janoris Jenkins as the season goes on and plays the number one wide receiver, lines up with the number one wide receiver towards the end of the season. He's going to be lining up on the number one wide receivers. Julian Love is going to start at the nickel spot. Now, you're hearing right now that Grant Haley still has the nickel role, and he's not letting up. Grant Haley's actually performing extremely well in OTAs and minicamp, but as we see in preseason, I think Julian Love is really going to step up to his role and really take that nickel spot, and he will be the nickel corner. And then we have a damn good corner in Grant Haley at the dime spot. Jabril Pepper will make me eat my words comparing him to some Fritos and Powerade when we traded him for Odell Beckham, and he's going to come close to first in tackles next season. I don't know if he's going to quite get there, but I think he's going to come close to first in tackles last year, racking up a bunch of sacks. In James Betcher's system, he is going to thrive there, giving pressure to the quarterback, playing the box, and stopping the run. Now, don't expect Jabril Peppers to have tons of interceptions. That's just not who he is. That goes back all the way to his Michigan days. He is not an interception machine, but maybe he'll get 1 and 2 on the way from tip passes, but expect him to be a problem on the defense wherever he's lined up. Rookie O'Shane Ximines is going to thrive in this defense and be a great pass rusher, but it's going to be Lorenzo Carter, the second year a pass rusher out of Georgia, who's really going to step up to his role now that Olivier Vernon is gone and lead the team in sacks and lead the edge rushers in tackles. Marcus Golden is going to fill in a great rotational pass rush role for the Giants, and he is going to be great as well. Not as well as we all think he might, with the 12.5 sacks, but he will be a fine addition to the defense, having about 5 or 6 sacks. This interior defensive line is going to be a top 10 interior defensive line next season. BJ Hill, Dalvin Thompson, and Dexter Lawrence, who's losing weight and wants to drop down to 315. Now, realistically, I think he'll get to like 320, 325, but that's still phenomenal. Trying to run on these 3 guys is going to be an absolute challenge, even for the Dallas Cowboys. This is going to be a problem next season. Now for the negatives. Now, you can never predict who gets hurt and how it happens and how long are they going to be out for, but it's going to happen. Keeping my fingers crossed, the Giants haven't been injury riddled in quite some time compared to a couple seasons ago where we just had everybody on IR. We've been, for the most part, pretty healthy. I'll never predict who gets hurt on this roster, but it's going to happen, and just be weary of that. Expect this team to defeat itself. Now, I know you don't want to hear that, but it's going to happen. I talked about how well these players are going to play. That is if everybody is healthy and everybody plays up to their potential. But there's going to be some, dodo type plays that happen. Pat Shurmur not using Saquon Barkley, or, Sterling Shepard fumbles, or Evan Engram drops the ball, or whatever. It's going to happen, okay? DeAndre Baker lets up a touchdown. It's going to happen, okay? Stupid play calls, time management, drop passes, etc. are all things a team is going to go through, but it seems like it happens mostly to the Giants. I don't think that would change, but we may see less of it now that Pat Shurmur really has a feel of who he has on the roster, who he has there, especially at running back. Heads up to Pat Shurmur. Don't just run it 4 times in the first half. Now, this won't be a breakdown of the schedule and a final prediction of what I think the Giants are going to do. I'm going to wait until a little bit, towards the preseason, maybe even in preseason, to give my final, a record prediction, because I think we're just a little too early right now. We're just basically going off of the paper. So I want to see what we get from training camp, who's playing well, if our depth is improving, any, injuries that I should know about in training camp, so on and so forth. I'm going to say that we're going 7-9 next season, but we will have a lot of optimism going into next season. Now, the end of the season may be very sentimental for everybody because we're welcoming in a new quarterback, and this may be the end of an era. Eli Manning may find himself retiring next season or off the team, whatever happens. When that time comes, I'll probably make a very heartfelt video. And, we all talk about it now. Eli should be replaced. Eli should be replaced. But when it actually happens, I think it's going to impact us a lot more. So, just thinking about that now, it's just, I don't know. I don't want to let go of Eli, but I do at the same time. And we may have to say goodbye to Eli next season. So, for the last rodeo for Eli Manning, hopefully we leave on a high note. Take us home, Eli. Take us home. That's all I got for you guys today. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I apologize if this is a longer video. I had a lot I wanted to fit in this video. So make sure you guys leave a like, subscribe if you guys are new, and I will see you guys in the next video.